Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the Lizardmen. They're going to be taking on the Empire. I know, but people tend to pick the counterpick the Empire against me if they suspect it's me. I have no idea if this person thought it was me or not, but here we are with the Lizardmen. I've got Tehenowin flying and a sneaky chameleon vanguard skink here. We've got two Demigryph Knights with halberds for the Empire, an Archlector with a strong front line of 6 veteran spearmen. They're not fully veteran, but they're up to rank 5 in most cases, with the one on the end not quite having that many. 2 Hellblaster volley guns and 3 units of handgunners, so a true hero of the Empire here, taking an awesome army for you guys. The Archlector up front with his dual hammers. And you can see my lizard force mostly deployed in the woods here over on the far side, fearing some artillery shenanigans. If he was deployed in the back here, I was planning to work my way up and around through these woods and just be patient. But since he's deployed out in the open here, we're just going to move up this wave. We've got a front line here of Skink Cohort, second line of Red Cress, and a third line of Saurus Warriors with a reserve of 3 Cold One Riders with spears. And to keep my opponent distracted while I'm advancing, I've got these chameleon skinks and Tehenowin just kind of trolling around here on the corner, wasting some ammunition, cutting out some shots. I have taken a few shots here with Tehenowin, but I'm not too worried. I'm going to play pretty aggressive with him, but at the same time, he's going to be pretty key. He's got the Manticore summons, of course, so that terror bombing for key isolated units for the Empire. Of course, we do have to keep them away from these Demigryph Knights. The Shadowcaster does have Enfeebling Foe as well, so, dropping down with the Manticores could potentially be pretty risky, or with Tehenowin himself for that matter. That Enfeebling Foe on Tehenowin obviously is going to nerf his melee stats significantly, but right now the Empire player just sort of sitting back here, being nice and patient, keeping his guns in sort of a protective position. So we'll fast forward just a little bit as I move my forces up and into range here, nice and patiently. The Lizard Cav coming and moving up here. Chameleons, we're doing a bit of skirmishing on these Demigryph Knights. They're going to pull away here, and the Hellblaster volley gun is going to fire some shots. It'll hit the trees somewhat, but it will actually hit the Chameleons a little bit here. Unfortunate for the poor boys, but they're going to take a few shots. They do have some missile resistance, but I mean, obviously against artillery shots that do that much damage, the missile resistance doesn't do enough to really save them. So anyway, a little bit of a blunder here by myself as well, getting these Cold One Spear Riders into range with the Hellblaster volley gun. It honestly doesn't do that much damage against cavalry. I'm a little bit underwhelmed. Generally, I prefer cannons just because they have longer range, they're cheaper, they one-shot any unit model they hit, infantry or cavalry, and it'll pass through like the whole unit of cavalry, right? So if you get a good side shot, you can kill almost a third of the unit in a single shot. So generally I prefer Empire cannons. Same thing with the dwarves, even over that's why I prefer them over organ guns, over pretty much any other artillery pieces, because it's the range, it's reasonably cost effective, and it still can do a ton of damage to pretty much any target, whatever you need it to. The Hellblaster volley guns certainly are a lot of fun, but right now they're just firing away at skinks, which is not going to be the best here. But the handgunners also opening up. This is exactly what these skink cohort are meant for in the front line here. They are immediately going to get terrified away by the Royal Gryphites, but that's just fine. In the meantime, these chameleon skinks are just poking away at the Demigryph Knights. They don't have the best AP values, but we can do a little bit of damage here. 3 damage per shot, so we can kind of poke away at them a little bit here. And there's no healing for the Empire, so any HP damage done will be important later on in the battle. But you can see the lizard waves finally making their way into the Empire state troops here. We've got these little skink boppers. Man, I love their little maces, their little two-handed maces. They're awesome. They're going to get in here. They'll do especially well on working on this flank against the least veteran of these spearmen. The other spearmen will hold out okay. The Red Crest are racking up some okay kills, but their melee defense up to 50, and of course the Archlector juicing them up with Grand Hammer of Sigmar, Grand Shield of Faith, up to 49 melee attack as well, so they're definitely giving it to those Red Crests. Meanwhile, we've got Manticore summons coming up in the back line. Tehenowin's going to start to move in to shut down some of these missile troops. He charged that wizard, taking some nasty volleys from these missile units, though, so we're going to go ahead and pull away there and pull into some of these missile units. Demigryph Knights got pathed onto the Chameleon Skinks rather than onto one of these other units, so Tehenowin is going to be able to dive in here and get on these handgunners, as well as the Manticore. You can see the Lizard Cav also in the back line, countercharging the Demigryph Knights. Demigryph Knights obviously will do well here, but with this many Lizard Cav in the area, it's just going to be tough. Granted, the Royal Altar of Cryptites do come to reinforce here, and that is going to terrify away one of the units of Cold One Knights, along with the Withering there to drop their leadership and armor. Definitely some good stuff there, but that is going to leave these missile units exposed because all these Demigryph Knights are invested, you know, at fighting my cav. That does leave these units exposed. You can see this unit of Skinks came up and around the flank there. You know, there's a little gap there by that lake. They're able to get in here and get on this artillery crew here. Very important. Some spearmen are going to get dispatched from the front line, but you can see here in general the spearmen are holding out okay, but they're just starting to get worn down through sheer weight of numbers, and especially once the Saurus move in. Saurus have very good weapon strength, and when they do make contact, they will do a lot of damage. You can see here in the back line, a lot of units getting terrified away, and we're using the various skink units to try and chase them down. One great thing about skinks is they are pretty fast. 46 speed for an infantry unit means that they can easily outrun. I mean, obviously, especially when they're poisoned, but Empire troops are, what, 30-ish baseline, 26 right now with the poison, so the skinks can easily outrun them and keep them routing, which is a very, very nice benefit. I mean, they're not the greatest melee unit in the world, but that extra speed does count for something. You can see Tehenowin finally getting into the front line here, terrorizing this Archlector a little bit. Archlector's on foot, though, so he's honestly going to be a pretty tough target. Granted, you can see the state troops, they are doing okay, but again, starting to just get worn down through sheer attrition here. The Saurus warriors just plowing down these spearmen now that they're super tattered. And the poison of the Red Crest will be very important. The fact that they have, you know, good melee stats as well. And once their Frenzy pops in, 35 melee attack, they'll be able to make decent contact. Enough to do, you know, damage over time at least. And keep in mind that there is a minimum hit chance. So, I mean, even if there's a very, very low chance of them hitting based on the melee attack versus defense, then in that case, you know, you're still going to be getting some hits, especially when it's multi-model units fighting like this. There's just so many dice rolls happening at once that you're bound to get a couple of hits in somewhere. And especially with these Saurus units with their high weapon strength, they're going to do a lot of damage here. And same thing with the Royal Altar of Cryptites. I mean, they're an elite cavalry unit, but they're not really meant to fight an infantry unit like Saurus, especially because Saurus have such high weapon strength, again. So when they do make contact, it is absolutely devastating. 18 AP per swing with 34 base damage. Absolutely brutal. You can see Tehenowin just using him as a kind of mobile hit and run. He's taken a lot of damage because I was using him pretty aggressively there in the back line. Took a lot of bullets to the face, but now being used to just sort of chase routing units. You can see I've been able to chase off a lot of the Empire's routing units here with just skinks and other stuff. So yeah, looking pretty good. The balance power is pretty heavily in my favor at this point. Archlector is trying to hold his troops together, but he's pretty much the only one left at this point. The Royal Altar of Cryptites have given up the fight, so it's just a matter of time before we finish off the hero of Sigmar here. He is too proud to go down at this point, though. He's going to bop this skink a little bit here. We'll get Tehenowin over for a duel and see who takes it. Actually, the Archlector doesn't have the best AP values, not the best weapon strength in the world. His melee defense is decent, though, and if he can make contact with Tehenowin, Tehenowin doesn't have much armor on the Ripperdactyl. I guess he doesn't have 75. Interesting. That's not bad. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. It's better than Azag. But, yeah, at this point, Archlector realizes that all is lost, and he is going to give up the fight. So, well played my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, I've been seeing quite a bit of the veteran spearmen for the Empire. We'll take a look at that in just a minute, as I failed to do so in the last video where we saw them. But anyway, as far as this build goes for myself, I mean, obviously playing a little bit over-aggressive with Tehenowin could have cost me the game there, but we were able to get both Manticore summons off and use them to terror bomb this back line. And while these Hellblaster volley guns did get a lot of kills against low-tier skinks, I mean, they are just low-tier skinks, right? So that's just fine. They're kind of meant to soak missiles and charges anyway. So, yeah. It ended up working out okay. The Lizard Cav especially, very, very cost-effective in general in this matchup, especially if you can get, you know, massed engagements. They're not... Yeah, it can be tricky, but they're decent against most Empire Cav, even Demigryph Knights. If you can get them outnumbered like I was able to here, then you definitely can win that engagement outright, especially with the support of poison, and Lizardmen just have tons of poison across the board. You know, Red Crests often are out on the flanks. You can have them support the Cold One Riders, and they have a little bit of AP as well to go after Demigryph Knights. Saurus, of course, they're just thick boys. They have incredible mass. Like, Saurus and Temple Guard have some of the highest mass of any infantry in the game, so if you manage to surround a unit of Demigryph Knights with Saurus, they're going to have a hard time pulling out. And, you know, with their high weapon strength, they will do a lot of damage anyway. But, yeah, for the Empire player here, yeah, I mean, Spearmen were able to get some good kills in the front line, and just out of curiosity, because I have been seeing it quite a bit lately, chevroned up Empire Spearmen here. If we go ahead and have a look, 375 for Spearmen with shields is what you get normally. 42 melee defense for only 375 is actually really cost effective. They have decent weapon strength, shield, okay melee attack. But let's see, if we were to chevron them up to be equivalent more or less to High Elf Spearmen, that's what, rank 6? And that gives you 51 melee defense, 23 melee attack, pretty good leadership as well. If you take them all the way, it's almost 600. So you're looking even to a mid-tier unit at this point in terms of cost. But 56 melee defense, 70 leadership, and 25 melee attack. Not bad. I mean, considering that there aren't really a lot of mid-tier spear units in the game outside of, I guess, High Elf Spearmen, but even still, they're kind of low tier. I don't know. I guess there aren't really any mid-tier spear units in the game. The closest thing I can really think of would be like a Biggin, but they're not really spear units necessarily, so the comparison's not great. But just in general, I think there is some merit to this. Typically with my Empire builds, I'm trying to optimize costs and bring as many units as I can, so I tend not to chevron low-tier units up like this, but in certain matchups, I definitely think that there is some merit to this. Against the Lizardmen, I'm not really sure, just because their infantry is pretty decent, and just in general, they have a lot of good anti-infantry tools. I don't know, it's tough. It's an interesting matchup. There's a lot of different ways that both players can go, so maybe we'll have to explore this matchup a little bit further in the future, but just in general, you know, the fact that Empire has good, cost-effective AP missiles is pretty tough for the Lizardmen to deal with. But I've rambled on long enough for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like the sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.